Here is a question nobody is asking clearly. Why is the richest country in the world, the United States, is suddenly desperate to build factories? They have Wall Street, they have Silicon Valley, they have the most powerful military on earth. So why are they spending hundreds of billions of dollars to make chips, batteries and medicines? Basically the stuff they stopped making 30 years ago. The answer has everything to do with power and money. And the shift happening right now that most people haven't connected yet. Let's start with something simple. What is money? We think money as a paper or digits on the screen. But here's the most honest answer. Money is a promise. It's a promise that when I give you this paper, you will give me something in return. Food, medicine, oil, or a phone. And that promise works only if people believe it. Now, think about the US dollar for a second. For most of the last 80 years, the whole world have been running on this promise. Every country holds dollars. Every major trade, oil, semiconductor, wheat, is priced in dollars. And that gave the US something extraordinary. They could print money and the world would accept it. They could run huge debts and the people would still buy their government bonds. It's like being the only bank in the town of 1,000 people. You make the rules, you decide the prices, and you never run out of money because everyone needs you. That's what the economics call the reserve currency status. And the US dollar has held since 1944. Here is the part most people don't think about. If you control the world's money, you don't have to actually make things. You can just buy them. And that's exactly what US did. Starting in 1980s, companies figured this out. Why build a factory in Ohio when you can build it in China and pay worker 1/10 of the wage and ship the goods back home? So they shut down the factories, they moved the jobs overseas and then told themselves, we do the thinking, we do the designing, and the world will do the making. For a while, it worked beautifully. American companies got richer, consumers got cheaper goods, Wall Street boomed. But something quietly broke. Two things happened that US wasn't ready for. First, the COVID. In 2021, supply chains collapsed. Suddenly, the US couldn't get simple things like masks, medicines, chips for their cars. They realized if you don't make things, you don't control things. And if you don't control things, you are basically vulnerable. And the second thing was China. China used those decades of being world's factory to learn, grow, copy, and eventually to innovate. Now China builds advanced chips, advanced weapons, advanced semiconductors, and is challenging US on almost every front. Here is the uncomfortable truth. When you outsource manufacturing to a potential rival, you're not just losing jobs, you're building their military, you're funding their technology, and you're handling them the leverage. And the US finally, fully understood this. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Remember that promise that the dollar is backed by everyone's trust? That trust is quietly cracking. In the year 2000, the dollar made over 70% of the global foreign exchange reserves. Countries everywhere packed their saving in US dollars. And by 2025, that number dropped to 57%. It's still dominant, but the direction is clear. And here is what's really thrilling. The central bank, the big banks that run countries, started buying gold aggressively. In 2022, 23, 24, they bought over 1,000 tons of gold per year. That's more than double the average of the previous decade. Who is doing this? Poland, Turkey, India, and quietly and steadily, China. China has been buying gold for 11 consecutive months. They have cut their US Treasury holdings from 1.3 trillion to 780 billion. Why does this matter? Because when a country buys gold instead of dollar, they are quietly saying, we don't fully trust that promise anymore.
May was the 7th consecutive month that China's central bank added to its gold reserves. This was a part of China's strategy to diversify its holdings in the face of persistent market volatility.
And the gold prices, they have gone from 1,800 an ounce in 2022 to over 3,500 an ounce in mid-2025. Gold isn't appreciating because gold is more useful. Gold is appreciating because the trust in paper money, especially the dollar, is getting weaker. Think of it in this way. Gold is an anti-promise. It doesn't have to rely on anyone's word. You can't print it more. You can't freeze it with sanction. It is just what it is. And the world is moving towards it. So what broke that trust? And why now? And why is this happening faster in the last few years? 3 reasons. First, the Russia. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, US froze 300 billion of Russian dollars reserves overnight. Now, whether you agree with that decision or not, every other country watched that happening and thought something important. Wait, my dollars can be frozen too. So if you hold your savings in dollar and you are a country and the US disagrees with, those savings aren't basically safe. That moment accelerated de-dollarization more than anything else in the recent memory. Second, US debt. The US national debt is over 35 trillion. Interest payment on that debt has crossed 1 trillion a year, more than the US spends on its defense. So, when a country is spending that much just to service its debt, the world starts to wonder how long it can last. Third is the EV revolution. This one is underrated. For 50 years, the dollar was held up by something called as petrodollar. Oil is sold in dollars. So every country that needs oil needs dollar. That created permanent global demand for the US currency. But EVs are disrupting oil. 1 in 4 cars sold globally in 2025 is electric. China sold over 11 million EVs in 2024. As oil demand shrinks, so does one of the biggest reasons to hold dollars. Now you understand why US panicked. Not openly, not dramatically, but in policies, very deliberately. In 22, they passed a Chips and Science Act. 280 billion directly at bringing semiconductor manufacturing back to American soil. Then the Inflation Reduction Act. 60 billion for clean energy, manufacturing, batteries, solar panels, wind turbines. Then the Infrastructure Act. Roads, ports, grid, everything a factory needs to actually function. The result? Between 21 and 25, US manufacturing construction spending went from 76 billion a year to nearly 230 billions a year. That's a 3x jump in just 4 years. TSMC is building 6 semiconductor fabs in Arizona. Apple announced 500 billion in US manufacturing investment. IBM announced 150 billion. These aren't small numbers. These are the largest space-time industrial commitment in the American history. And here it's what's driving it beyond national pride or political speeches. They have understood something that every powerful nation in history eventually learns. You cannot have power without production. A country that doesn't make things depends on the countries that do. And dependencies in geopolitics is weakness. Now let's talk about India, because what's happening here is not a coincidence. It's the same logic playing out in a different context. India has been, for the most of its post-independent history, a service economy. Software, IT, BPO, we have built great engineers. We have built global companies, but we didn't build enough factories. Manufacturing share in India's GDP is still around 15 to 16%. And China is closer to 28%. And for a country with 1.4 billion people and tens of millions of young people entering the workforce every year, that's a problem. Service don't employ at the scale manufacturing does. A software company might employ 10,000 people. A factory ecosystem might employ 10 lakh people. So the question for India is same as the US. Just from a different starting point, how do we build a real productive capacity? The answer arrived at the PLI scheme, Production Linked Incentives, launched in 2020 covering 14 key sectors: electronics, pharma, automotive, semiconductors. The government essentially said, build here, sell more. We will pay you back a percentage of your incremental revenue. And the result so far? 1.76 lakh crore in investment already realized in March 25. Total productions and sales under this scheme crossed 12.5 lakh crore. Electronics production in India went from 21 billion in 2015 to 130 billion in 2025. India went from making 2 mobile phones in the entire country in 2014 to 300 mobile manufacturing units and 33 crore phones a year in 2024. Apple now makes iPhones in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, and we are exporting smartphones, not just consuming it. And India also quietly brought 100 tons of gold back from UK in 2024.
The RBI secretly shipped 102 tons of gold from London to India.
Because we too want our assets on our soil. Here is where I want you to step back for a moment. What you're watching across US, across India, across China and Europe, it's a global revaluation of what power actually means. For 3 decades, the world ran on a simple idea. efficiency. Let everyone make what they can make cheapest. Trade freely and everyone wins. That idea is breaking down. Not because trade is bad, but because geopolitics doesn't care about efficiency. When a country can cut off your chips, you can't build cars or fighter jets. When a country can freeze your dollars, your money isn't really yours. When your factories is somewhere else, your jobs, your skills, your industrial knowledge is somewhere else too. Now nations are asking, if the world fractures, if alliance shifts, if supply chains get weaponized, what do we actually have on our own soil? And the answer every single time in history is factories, infrastructures, energies, skills workers, domestic supply chains. That's why US is building. That's why India is building. That's why the world is rethinking manufacturing. We started this channel with one conviction, that manufacturing is the foundation of everything else. Not the most glamorous topic, not the flashy headlines, but the most fundamental one. Countries that make things have jobs. Countries that have jobs have stability. Countries that have stability can build wealth, educate people, and build real power. The dollar decline isn't a financial story. It's what happens when one nation stops making things and believes paper alone is enough. Gold rise isn't an anomaly. It's the world hedging against the promises it no longer fully trusts. And the race to build factories in America, in India, isn't nostalgia, it's survival. It's nations saying we are not going to be dependent on anymore for the things that matters the most. That's the real story. So next time when you hear the US is bringing manufacturing home or India is building a semiconductor fab, don't think of it as an economic story. Think of it as a country remembering something it forgot. That power comes when you make things, not when you can buy. If you find this useful, drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Is India moving fast enough or we are still too slow? Subscribe to this channel if you haven't. We cover exactly this: manufacturing, technology, AI, and the economics that actually matter. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.